Hey, Ohad.
Hi,
We
Guy.
wanted to have this fireside chat for a while, and here we are, finally. And the first time we met was when we had a CS angel investment in Bagel AI. And back then, and even more these days, it's clear to me that Bagel AI solves a fundamental challenge of aligning the customer success product and sales team. And now with the surge of AI, I think it's the perfect time to get together and discuss the hot stuff. But let's be polite first and start with a quick intro. So I'll allow you to start first.
Thank you, Guy. First, yeah, pleasure to have this call. Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, we were waiting for the right time to do it, knowing each other for a while. So maybe first I'll introduce myself. I'm Ohad Biron. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bagel AI. My background is I've been more than a decade in various R&D positions and also being a product manager myself. Then switched and led go-to-market teams, including customer success. And now I'm in Bagel to solve one of the main pains I had as a go-to-market leader, that alignment and that coordination with product and how we help the company to drive the product and drive the business with the product towards the metrics that matters.
Good. And short introduction about myself, although we know each other, but for our audience, I'm Guy Galon, and I'm the Chief Customer Success Officer at Obrela. I've spent most of my career in customer-facing roles. Started as software engineer, also more than a decade ago. But I quickly moved to post-sales, professional services, project management, even software delivery when on-prem was still cool before the cloud days. Later, account management, and of course, customer success. I founded the CS Cycle, which is my own consultancy brand, and I have my LinkedIn newsletter and my own website full of material for the CS community.
Which I
And
recommend to follow. Very, very interesting.
thank you very much for your kind words, Oad. And for many years, I have been close to product teams and people like you, Oad, and seen the challenges, market gaps, and opportunities to keep product in sync with CS, but not just with CS, but also with sales. And no doubt this alignment is a key success factor for organization. And this brings me to the first topic that help us to get warmed up. And the question is, why do CS, I think, and sales struggle to stay aligned with the product team? What do you think?
So there are so many reasons for that, but let's start with the obvious ones, right? First, by nature, product and CS lives in silos. They speak in different languages, right? They follow different metrics. They have different incentives, and that by definition creates misalignment and friction. Now, drilling a bit more into that, so we all need to remember that product doesn't follow only what customer success needs, right? Or ask for, or what existing customers needs, like post sales, right? They are in charge of the whole value chain, the whole from new business to existing custom to onboarding to nurturing existing customer, expanding them, and even the ones that left and churned. How can we get better, right? So they have different needs and perspectives they need to take into account. And I'm not even talking about the futuristic part of it, right? The CEO and the board that is coming and pushing them to innovate and drive the business years forward, right? Or open new markets. So there's different, again, incentives at product side that are not necessarily aligned with what customer success needs here and now.
And I couldn't agree more when you started with the terminology or with the business perspective. And maybe I can wrap it up and says that I think we have different perspectives and maybe even different view in terms of customer success. I see it as a maybe short to medium term view. We hear what customers needs. We are concerned about their churn or retention, what they require. We know that they cannot be fixed immediately, But at the same time, we hope when we talk to product that it will not take a year to deploy, especially these days when things move very fast. Sales, they just want to win deals, right? So don't tell them in few months. They want to close the deal now. If you can make the promise, they make the commitment now, they will sign the deal and off they go.
Sure.
And I think that leaves product with the broader view. You know, as you said, probably the long-term view to see what the market does, trends, gaps, what problems we as a company or as a vendors solve, and of course take the, as you said, the COO, the CEO view of where we will be. Okay, maybe not in 5 years, but in a few years from now, and how our product roadmap looks like. So, I think that's the nature of the challenge of our alignment. Now, let's try to understand, you know, how we can help to solve it, or what things we can do these days. And of course, I'm interested in specifically in Bagel AI is one of your investors, to share a little bit about how Bagel AI can help to reduce this alignment gap.
Yeah. So first I introduce Bagel and what we're doing in a few sentences, so we have the context, right? So Bagel is a product intelligence platform, the first AI native product intelligence platform. That means that we help product teams to connect their product decisions to business impact. The way we do it is by the way we help product teams to connect and influence the business, right? Is by helping them collecting all the product pains and product gaps from the different stakeholders, the different feedback sources, like renewal calls or sales calls, like support tickets, like the CSM notes about the account risk, taking all of that, digesting it, and letting product understand what matters most and quantify it. How we tie this to the business metrics that matter, so that when they come to prioritize, it's actually moving the needle of the business side. So that's Bagel overall. Now, to answer your question, first we need to I need to set the stage a bit with, you know, what's happening today in the market, and correct me if I'm wrong and you feel or you see it differently. When we speak with our prospects and customers, by far the number one thing that our customer want is to help them grow sustainably. How the company can increase profitability, increase efficiency, to achieve sustainable growth. And what that means for CS, I'm curious to see how you feel it, because we see more and more CS in charge of P&Ls, but I'm curious to hear your take on it. But
I've not seen, I mean, there are cases where CS have their own P&L, I think in a more established companies, not always, but definitely the growth and revenue is something that all customer success teams today have to own. It's not just a sales motion anymore, for sure.
Yeah, and for product, it's also happening, but this is a more significant change than in CS. CS was always maybe not driving the sales or the renewals themselves, but there was part of that discussion. They were preparing the ground, bringing sales up to speed and driving that cycle, right? Product was never there. Product was always thinking more on the long term, and maybe they were involved where there was some high risk or some, you know, accounts that are really about to churn and need some more nurturing and white gloves treatments, right? But nowadays, the CEO actually comes to the product organization and asks the head of product, "Show me the money. And like, what's the ROI of your roadmap? What you're developing now help me to reduce churn, not in a year, next quarter." And
Yeah.
this is something that they never really did, at least not in that magnitude until today.
Let me wear the customer success hat for a second.
Yes.
Trying to fight churn 3 months before the renewal is always not a lost battle, but a bit late in the game, right? We know that. So customer success general theme is we nurture the customer from day one, for onboarding, and making sure that they get to the situation where they actually want to renew. You don't even need to ask them. I mean, obviously that's a more optimistic scenario. I do understand why CEOs today cut the corners, not cut corners, but maybe cut the path short because there is less time, basically. Everybody runs
More
very
pressure.
fast.
Yeah.
We will talk about AI. We'll give AI enough time. So AI makes us feel that we are running in a very high-speedy race. So I guess they want to see from all teams, CS, sales, and product, some kind of a measurable outcomes. And I think we're talking mainly revenue, sales conversion, higher retention, growth with existing customers, and product, in my view, is not the only, but one of the major orchestrators.
So actually, when you think about it, CS and product are both orchestrators in their day-to-day job, right? The CS is the one orchestrating the customer side and product orchestrating all the tech side and a bit the business, but hopefully more and more and more. But they are both in a position to lead without authority and influence many stakeholders, right? And the advantage by the way of product and CS, right, is that CS has much more depth in the feedback providing to product compared to almost any other stakeholder in the company.
Yes,
Right?
I agree.
But going back to the metrics, because indeed I think that's the key part. What we all want to achieve at the end, alignment and trust between product and CS. Of course, from product side with product, with also sales and support and other teams, but let's focus on product and CS. I think trust and alignment is the first part we want to tackle, and at least also referring from my own personal belief, right? Trust and transparency, trust and alignment happens with transparency, and transparency about the things that matters, the North Star. The North Star are our KPIs, our OKRs, and if the very, very basic element is first to understand what drives our stakeholders, our counterparts, right? It's with every negotiation 101, you first want to understand what's your the other party wants to achieve, right? And that brings you power to influence the discussion. It's the same here. If I'm taking now the product seat, right? If I know what the chief customer officer want to achieve, how his bonus is going to fluctuate, right, next quarter, then if I can do things that will help him achieve that quota, then he will be my best friend. So
You make him successful, and that's
exactly,
the right approach.
exactly.
Maybe
And
to add something on this,
yeah.
Ohad, this alignment, I think, starts with proper management planning. So if we are planning next year, I think chief product officer, success, CRO, CFO, everybody needs to know what are the major targets for next year. How much you want to grow? What's our expected retention rate? Right? How many more customers we want to create? What is our conversion rate? I mean, there are different, commercial targets that eventually matters. And I think these, if you ask me, these have to be everyone's target. And then, obviously, each team, each department will build its own OKRs and so on. But eventually, the overall arching framework means that everybody, or this product and Guy CS and I don't know, Jeff and sales, they all see the same end goal for this year. And that, I think, already, that's the start of the alignment.
That's definitely the start. But I also say, a side note, that it's an ideal world, right? Not in every company
Yes.
it exists. And even if it
Correct.
does, you'll get the top 3, maximum 5 company OKRs, because otherwise it's not manageable, right? And
Correct.
management wants to keep it at a high level so that the derivatives actually propagates downstream, right? Um, Now then you are right. Every team is then creating their own subset of KPI that they can influence, right? But usually that's where things break. That's when, every team creates their own sub view, but it's siloed and kept in their, drawer compared to like sharing it with everyone and ask for help, right? And that's, I think that's the mindset that we need to change. And at the end, it's fine that, as a product, for example, I'll have my own targets that I believe will contribute to company OKR. Let's say improving engagement, right? Or improving UX or performance or things that are not necessarily, customer success metrics. But if I know, if I have as well, okay, at the same time, the same views flipped towards the metric that you care, like NRR, right? Like NPS, CSAT, other metrics. So at least I'll know how I influence it. And if you ask me, I can answer in your in your language, right? Then we'll already be like a few steps, forwards.
That's true. And I, for the last few years, in different places, I try to, follow this approach. One more, I think, challenge that we have, and I think this is, again, a mutual challenge, is to say, okay, we both care about retention. We both care about expansions, which is eventually what counts and the triggers revenue. The question is if we can agree product and CS, let's leave sales for a second. What are these, you mentioned North Star. What is the main, let's say, operational metric that we can all agree that this is a good indicative of how customers will likely to remain and to grow? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. It's either gut feeling because we know the customers, okay, but maybe if we are we have thousands of customers, it's not scalable,
Yeah.
and it's need to be more scientific. And I think this is the biggest opportunity to kind of form a kind of alliance. I give you an example: active users. If we can correctly define what active user means in my platform, product and CS, and monitor it and see the correlation between improving active usage to retention and expansion, then we have a good metric to follow that everybody are already aligned to, regardless of the big target of revenue and retention. And it could be active users. It could be what I call meaningful usage. Meaningful usage is very tricky to identify for. I will always thought that a good collaboration between product and CS will be to actually break down this part and say what meaningful usage mean, and can we actually correlate it with business outcome?
Yes. I'll double down on that. It's important. First, yes, there's this effort that has to be done to define these potential metrics, so but low-level metrics, these events, as you mentioned, for example, of that are potentially important. We're not sure yet, right? But we can definitely map them together, right? The second part is when we want to measure it and test it and validate it, right? The first thing is to make sure that we remove bias and that we have maximized our coverage. For example, today one of the main challenges of product teams is that they are very biased, right? They will always look at gaps that CS is shouting because this is like now became a top priority, or now a customer is at high risk, or they're churned, or this is a very known issue, right? And we don't want to find ourselves in that situation that is like it's too late, it's the 91st minute, right? And second, we want to also take into account all our customer base when we measure how good are we, right, or not, right? Second, so that's first part, and that's for example one thing that that's one of our main value proposition with Bagel AI, that we can tap into all feedback sources, no matter how much. The opposite, the more the merrier, and we can bring the right evidence, the identify product pains and product gaps, for example, in that were discussed in a QBR with a customer, and automatically surface that to product as part of all the evidence we're looking at. But now, and that's the toughest, right? We have potential metrics that may influence or not. We have the full coverage, but now what really moves the needle of the high level OKR we want to influence, right? And I can tell you this is a very, very tough one. We in Bagel help to connect the feedback, the qualitative data, to any customer data. You can bring everything you know about the clients that complained about something or have a certain product pain. We can bring ARR, we can bring the segment, we can bring data from Snowflake like transactions, we can bring usage metrics like you mentioned, logins, but also specific events that were sent. And now our our users, the product should build out of all these data points metrics, to aggregate these data points and build a matrix, a formula that will be calculated automatically, right? They don't know how to do it. It's simply as that, because there are things that are trivial, but there are things that are very hard, and it's an A/B testing that you need to do. Like, what influence NPS? That's the most extreme, right? It's a very subjective metric, and also taken in one point at a time. So which usage data to happen before that survey, right? Which event happened or not? How do we create these cohorts and test whether it influenced for good or for bad on the NPS? This nobody, I can tell you, nobody will guess it straight ahead. It's a
Yes.
continuous work of validation and testing and hypothesis that you need to go through. But to make it right, the first step is, again, to agree on these data points and to collect the right data and the complete data.
I would say, as we spoke before, my approach, one source of truth, potentially. So
Mm-hmm,
we kind of understand and agree, at least
mm-hmm,
internally, what data we would like to include in this process. And I agree with you, the
mm-hmm,
eventually, okay, you integrated with all the dialog sources. Maybe you have some hypotheses and conclusions, but they need to be validated. And as I said, that relates again to what I mentioned before, how we eventually convert it to one or maybe two metrics that are indicative and predictive of what may influence, so mostly likely
mm-hmm,
to influence. And that will
mm-hmm,
also eventually impact our prioritization for sure. By the way, maybe one in brackets, NPS, you mentioned NPS. I always worried about who did those who do not respond to NPS. Those who respond to okay, there are also many uh, researchers today that claim that there is no direct correlation between NPS score and retention, but let's leave that.
mm-hmm,
Maybe it is partially correct. But the ones that
maybe.
do not respond, that's also for me a reason for concern. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
these,
LPS is indeed tricky, but I'll give you another example. So we have a few customers that use projected LTV, right? So when they have like a prospect or a trialer, right? They are try to estimate what will be the lifetime value of that customer, right? And that helps also to prioritize, also to assign to the right CSM afterwards, and many other processes around it, right? Now, this projected LTV is being adapted and adjusted over time depending on actions that the user is doing or users are doing on the platform, right? And it's all an hypothesis, right? No, there's no clear cut. It's like they're doing many uh A/B testing and statistical studies to perfect that, right? And that has s- like dramatic, influence on afterwards on what product is prioritizing because they want to increase the LTV or increase the conversions of, the high predicted LTV customers. Right.
Correct. And
Yeah.
also this testing and in continuous verification, I 100% agree with you, but I also would like, you just said a few minutes ago about the CEO that's running after you and saying, okay, I want you to show me the ROI of our roadmap. So I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like a built-in tension between, as I said in the beginning, the longer term of how the product should look at the market, what are the things that really move the needle, what are the
Mm-hmm.
parameters that actually have an impact on customers and therefore impact revenue. But at the same time, we need to be maybe faster than we are today. When I say we, it's not just product. I think it's all of
Mm-hmm.
us. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's a good segue to the one section that we haven't touched now is AI, because everybody wants to hear about AI. And maybe my first question or assumption that I would like to kind of bounce at you is that maybe AI, we have an opportunity here with AI to be a bridge between the teams, or be a more solid bridge between a product CS and sales, by the fact that, let's say we agreed on that we have all the data in place, so we can
Mm-hmm.
structure it in a way that it can be analyzed. And now we have maybe another player that is running in parallel to everything that we do and helping us to make this bridge more solid.
Yeah.
Hopefully reduce the unbiased challenge that you mentioned before, that, because if we work in emergency room mode, and this customer is about to leave, or this deal we have to win, product is struggling, and maybe that's going to happen. But maybe with AI, we can have a more, let's say, agreed statistics or agreed recommendations that are more, hopefully, more scientific.
Mm-hmm. I um I can't agree more. It's not maybe, it's already happening, right? And I think we see that already happening in many organizations, right, in the company. Um, we as well are using, Gen AI solutions ourselves to write code and test and everything. It's like it's affecting all of us. But again, coming back to product and CS, definitely the number one thing it bridges, it's the context awareness and context richness, right? Because of what we discussed before, that we all live in our style, we have different perspectives, and at the end we are humans. So we cannot know everything. And the more the company grows, it's the more interactions we have, the customer base grows, the distance, even geographic distance, right, is getting bigger. Um, and the trade-offs, right? So we need help. That's for sure. And Bagel, for example, that our number one tagline is first, we automate the life of product. We automate all the data collection and all the from the different places into, as you said, one single source of truth, but on that go, cleaning the noise, right? Bringing only what's relevant to product. Only that creates a new reality in which you can look at data and remove bias, right? Then then comes the context, right? The context comes when I can not only base my analysis or my decision on what you said, because you are speaking on behalf of your customer, right? I can also double validate that with what the customer actually said, or what similar customers said, or what the customer has said in the last 3 months before they actually churned, or before they actually raised that was, top of mind. So we can get more context in the sense of, the what happens before, during, or after, right? The case. We can get the context between the different, how it was mentioned by different personas, and we can also tie it to the actual business, right? Um,
And
yeah, I see that
when
you
you
want to
say,
share something.
yeah, I'm thinking out loud because this topic, I always think about not just what we are doing now, for example, in CS with,
Mm-hmm.
let's say, agents. That's
Mm-hmm.
a very hot topic, as you know very well, what you can potentially automate or what type of, uh, let's say, manual human conclusions that we used to do on our own. Now, you can get some assistance with agents to prepare for the next meeting, for prepare for the next QBR, to produce the report that actually makes a difference to a customer, to automate or improve your support to the extent that you can reduce effort and just focus on the right thing. So that's clear. And that's, let's say, customer service, customer experience. There's a lot of digital CS motion. So there's like a big place for all of that. But on the other side, I can see, each tool for the bigger tools in the market, Salesforce, they claim they have their own AI. I don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
if it's the
Mm-hmm.
best or not.
Mm-hmm.
HubSpot, Gong, Pendo, each one of them, if not already, or if now it's in beta, in a few months, they will announce that they have an agent that can help you to create context, to conclude. And I
Mm-hmm.
ask myself, if you are now a product manager and you have all these goods in the world, but there are also many agents, what should products do? Create their own orchestrator agent that can understand and figure out the context from different agents that are running in the company and make sense, because we also want to help a product. You said Bagel AI is helping to automate certain big part of the, let's say, data orchestration, but can we also automate the conclusions, the prioritization, or at least make recommendations based on so many agents running?
Yeah. Definitely there is a proliferation of agents, and it's actually good. My take is uh very clear. If AI play is, especially in the context we're discussing, is vertical, right? Um, and it's vertical because you need to reach a decent level of deepness and expertise to really trust it and base your critical decisions, on it. Right? And the number one thing that, and I'll give you two examples, right? Let's start with product. Every product manager I'm speaking with, everyone is experimenting or testing or doing a lot of, you know, uh, trials with Notebook LM and with, OpenAI and all available, tools. But also the thing that they are most frustrated of is the level of accuracy. If they get, you know, every second recommendation it's hallucinating or a false positive, they will lose trust and they will not use it again, or they will find themselves fine-tuning and working for it more and more and more until it gets into the right place, right? So you need to use a solution that focus on, bringing you uh the right data, and with as little, hallucinations and mistakes, right? And the same goes for CS, right? So let's take the opposite direction, right? Let's say I'm a CS and I'm using, I don't know, Salesforce, let's say. Okay? I know you can use case side and other, but let's take an example, right? The agent of Salesforce is amazing. He give me like a lot of context about what happened with that customer and the financials and interactions and so on. But it will not consolidate all the insights from different tools, from Zendesk and from Gong maybe sometimes, but from Slack and from Jira and from all other places into a single hub of a customer hub, right? And and now, when you get all these data into one place because you want to have your customer 360 view, again, you want to trust this data. The last thing you want is to jump on a call with a customer talking about something he didn't say, or that was not interpreted
Correct.
wrongly, right?
I think that technologies is maybe a bit more philosophical, but if obviously AI still have challenges and falls short, quite often. And hallucination or other inaccuracies are something that we are dealing with. But if I look, we said we're a decade in the business, then
Mm-hmm.
I mean, many technologies were a bit slow at the beginning and they
Mm-hmm.
improved. So I don't think it's a question of if, it's just a question of when. It may take more time. My concerns maybe with AI, and I actually posted about it last week, maybe ethical, with things that CS may come across, because
Mm-hmm.
agents will become too smart or maybe too
Mm-hmm.
elaborative that you may
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of noise, a lot of, no garbage, but just a lot of data that you may not need, maybe some recommendations that are, do not take into consideration companies or customers' way of working, way of doing business, a
Mm-hmm.
culture, organizational culture, many things that are much more soft. That's why we have CS for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure AI we can,
Okay.
we always, everyone says AI will not replace CSM, AI, but for sure will not replace product. They will
Mm-hmm.
complement. I think we'll
Mm-hmm.
have to keep to ourselves the level of critical thinking, to know when we are not accepting necessarily a recommendation or a conclusion, or verify the data source underlining that conclusion, and be a bit not being lazy. Okay, I always say, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I told you, 20 years ago, I landed in London. I opened A to Z, and not sure everybody knows what A to Z is. And I look at the map and I try to navigate myself. Today, I don't, maybe you'll find in London A to Z, but if you don't have your mobile with you, you are stuck. Most people will
Mm-hmm.
struggle to navigate. I don't want to be in 5 or 10 years when I asking myself a question about the customer and I cannot really answer. Some of it I can answer with AI or some support, but I also want that I have to have my own way of thinking, and I'm sure product will want to have the same thing.
So I do want to, before answering your question, and it's an interesting one, I do want to conclude something about the last one and also your first comment. It's not, for me, it's not about even when AI will do that. It's already doing it. AI is already disrupting and already bringing this new era of managing the business on both product and CS. My point was that it's very hard to get lost in the noise of different tools and approaches. Today the question is how and not when. And today the biggest success I see, and not only Bagel, oh yes, we are a vertical play, but the biggest success I see is AI vertical solutions, right? For content creation, for QA automation, for you name it, right? But if the company focus on doing something and something 10x better than the others, then it will succeed. If you try to apply one solution, AI solution for the company, and I see companies trying to do that, they will fail. And that maybe will come in the future, but not today. Okay? Today, you have to focus on one specific area or segment or problem and do it much better. And this is feasible and it's already happening. Right? And and now to your ethical questions and what will happen with with our job responsibility. Um, this is I think it like okay, I'm a tech advocate and maybe too optimistic, right? But I firmly believe that these are opportunities for us to develop and be better at what we do. Our target at Bagel AI is to help product managers to become domain experts more than they ever have been, right? Um, what makes a good product manager is that they know their business. They know not only what their customer are asking, but they know what's happening in their market. They know which a milestone their customers need to achieve. What are the compliance issues they are facing or they will go to face they will face in the future. These are the things that AI will not necessarily tell you, maybe infer here or there, but you need to become more and more domain experts to actually understand the root cause of everything, the potential of everything, the financials of everything, come up with the right pricing strategies, also, modules in your product. AI will not tell you that. AI will help you to get all the data, see trends, tap into blind spots, classify it correctly, but it will not really do the deep research that a PM needs to have as a domain experts, right? And for me, same goes for CS. Like a good CS, right, is the one that knows how to guide their customer towards, right, the right action, the desired outcome. AI, again, it can help facilitate that, but it will not replace like our common sense and brain and
Correct.
expertise we're gaining by working with these customers and seeing what's working, what's not, right? Understand the nuances in between the lines, when to say the right thing, when to push, when to take a step back, all these things that, makes it uh, a good
Uh,
relationship.
yeah, maybe a good anecdote on CS. A few years ago, I posted an article and I interviewed about framework for CS before AI erupted. So I came up with four facets or four hats: data analysis, project management, domain expertise, account manager or negotiator. And a year ago, I said, okay, now AI definitely is the fifth hat, but actually this fifth hat is actually taking over the data analysis. It may take over some of the project
Mm-hmm,
management, but as you
mm-hmm,
said, the domain expertise and being able to negotiate or to have difficult and meaningful conversation with customers, that would stay. That's
mm-hmm.
not just the knowledge, but it's also soft skills, a combination
Exactly.
of both.
You work on a renewal, you kind of negotiating it, right?
Yeah. That's what
Uh,
we expect. That's what we
exactly.
expect.
So you need to somehow get all the data and the options and the trade-offs, right, on the table quite easily, so you can actually run the negotiation, right? And same with product. It's always what's the prioritization task, right? Why it's so difficult? Not because the difficulty is not to collect the data, to gather a list of candidates. That's not the thing, right? The thing is building the what if scenario. What happens if we do that? What is the trade-off? What we will not do, right? And how this will impact our business. And then I need to go and and justify that. Like I have my roadshow with the CEO, with the CRO, with the chief customer officer, with the CTO, and everybody wants to hear about it from a different flavor, and I need to justify it. Why I show the different, path, and why I chose this one over that one, right? And this is something that, again, AI can definitely and is facilitating, but it's not, AI will not explain it, right, as I should do it as a head
Correct.
of product, right?
And maybe one more question to you. I know I'm kind of thinking about it, not just about, again, the future, but how AI can help us to be predictive in the future. And I'm thinking about it, customer success. Can AI help me to predict the churn rate or the retention, the probability for retaining a customer, the probability to
Mm-hmm.
win certain expansion in certain areas? For sales, to do probability for closing a
Yeah,
deal, for
yeah.
product to do okay, if this feature goes live, can we estimate the probability of X increasing our revenue,
That for
increasing our.
sure, for sure, for
So
sure, for
I'm
sure.
interested in how you
Yeah,
see that.
definitely. It's already again and will become stronger and stronger. And there are many reasons for that. I think the third, so AI, as you said, AI is not new, right? AI and prediction based on AI was there for a long time, right? Netflix is recommending us movies for a decade, right?
Amazon.
Um, Amazon recommend products. Exactly. It's always there, different approaches, but always there. And it was and all the prediction here is prediction is a data move. And here the only thing that matters like the only thing that matters to even start talking about predictions is to reach a threshold of data that you can ground truth that you can base your prediction algorithms upon, right? And what Gen AI did recently, we're just creating much more data points that we ever had. All the unstructured data that was not taken into account in in previous prediction models now is actually a part of it. And this is why it's so interesting, because now we have more than doubled our data points in the company to make better predictions, more context aware. Right? So this is, and let's take a CS example. Right? If I want, um, if I want to propose to my customer a certain triggers for and a certain functionalities that can be triggers for upsell. Right? Then, of course, I can also today, and with Bagel can help you to understand what your customer asks for, are their needs, and propose some, product capabilities that may drive upsells if it's not in their plan. Right? But I don't know what similar customers to my customer have done, and maybe there are success stories of upsells with customers that are very, very similar to my customer, right? And maybe I can propose something my customer didn't ask even, right? And this can be an upsell, right? So this is a great example of a prediction model that, let's say, was the first developing it, but can definitely be done today in the market with foundry patches.
There are a few startups I speak to, a lot of startups that claim that they can tell you what's the next best action, and I'm not saying it in a dismissive mode. They could be that
Hmm.
this is, as you said, this is not when this is happening. It's just probably we need to get
Exactly.
it right, get the
Exactly.
technology right. So I don't think we're far
Um,
from
in this case, we are not far at all. I think
we're
it's
not
actually
far.
feasible today. Yeah.
Good. Then I'm waiting for Bagel AI to give me another demo since the last one, for sure. That's for good. Okay, Ohad, maybe last words before we conclude. I think we covered a lot of aspects of product CS and sales collaboration. Different nuances of AI. What uh, what can we let's say see from Bagel AI coming soon?
Yes. So we invested most of our focus till today was bringing data you can trust. That was our one um, uh, North Star for the last 6 months, because we understood this is really our competitive edge. Now for Bagel, the next evolution is to take all the data we bring from the different stakeholders to product and bring more and more context to it. For example, if today we can help product managers to get all the deal blockers and renewal blockers and feature requests and surveys, all the product gaps into one place and read them and analyze them, now the next questions that are come and can be extracted out of it is, okay, who are, for example, the competitors that were mentioned as part of this, feedback, and in which context they were mentioned, right? Or let's analyze the same data, but not from a needs point of view or a pains point of view, but from a jobs to be done point of view. So giving more tools to product to take the right decision, right? The more they will do that, right, then the organization will gain, right? And then the next evolution of Bagel is to push that in the right context back to the go-to-market, to CS, and closing the loop, right? If I can enrich you, the head of customer success in your organization, with more understanding of the underlying pains your customers wanted, not what they told your team, but what are the pains they actually, suffering from, and give you, arm you, right, with solutions, um, case studies, um, a battle card with your own competitors to actually do it on time. That's the bagel. That's closing the loop.
That sounds fantastic to me, and definitely will make any CSM's jobs simpler for sure, and hopefully more effective. Maybe I'll close with the customer success point of view, and I always talk also about mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
we need
Mm-hmm.
to change mindset. Customer success is not as old. It's younger in the industry. Started with maybe onboarding and support, and then adoption and value, and then last few years it's about revenue, and then in having an impact, and aligning with sales and aligning with product. And I do see the mindset here as a leadership mindset that CS have
Mm-hmm.
to take
Mm-hmm.
from a leadership, for CS leadership perspective, to any CS function in the organization, because we cannot work in silos. I think we already agreed, but now with data consolidation, with the right data structure in place, with the right tools and technology in place, we're left with the people, the humans, and they still need to work with each other and form relationship, which is much more complicated than forming a relationship with a bot or with an agent. Although my daughter sometimes talk to the ChatGPT in a way that makes me worried sometimes. But anyway, I think the human part, the soft skills, will still play a major role, not just in front of customers, but also in the way we collaborate and interact with each other.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that what we see today, right? The play today is efficiency, right? And that's what everybody is excited about. How developers can, develop 30% faster, right, than with, code generating, disruption, or our CS can identifying risks uh on their customer side, and delight their customer better, right? We see that everywhere, right? First, of course, that the more you're younger, you can adopt things probably faster, right? But that's not the point I wanted to mention. I think first there is a big risk. There's a big risk that will become even more siloed, right? If you get uh, a good solution that automates your life, then you are likely to speak less with the people that you used to nudge today to get this info, right? And then you may be more data rich, but might be less context aware, right? And so this is a big risk to always make sure we are not neglecting automations. AI transparency does not replace the same cadences, the same alignment milestones we have with our stakeholders. It just transformed them into the agenda of them, right? Speaking of what, going deep, right? And
Yeah.
speaking about what actually matters, and not logistics and other things, right? So I think that's the mindset that I expect organizations to, follow. Because otherwise it can create, it can even harm,
Yeah, I
right?
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Um, yeah, and then, the look, I started Bagel uh 2.5 years ago, when the first GPT came to life, right? And since then, the market is moving at a pace that is like, even for me, hard to follow. Um, and that only makes me more excited about what's to come. Like literally, I don't think we are even envisioning what will be available in 2 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not the one saying that AI will replace us. Like I was before Bagel, I was in automotive, and I said to everyone, I worked for a company that develops like image sensor for autonomous vehicle, and I told everyone it is not coming. Don't worry, you will still drive a car in the next
That's what I hope.
decade. Yeah, and so also here, AI won't replace us, but it will. It already is and will change the way we work, and that's definitely something we all should think about it, act about on it, and leverage it and
Eh,
bagel it.
and Bagel it. And it gives us a good reason to have another chat in a few months' time, 6 months, 12 months, and see where we are. We have our own recording, so we can always check what we said and maybe say, oh, we didn't understand anything, but we'll soon find out.
I'd
Um,
love to to be wrong.
I love to, I don't know, I want to be right or be wrong. I want to, anyway, it's exciting times for sure for all of us. And I'm very happy that we had a chance to catch up, Ohad.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely we'll have another one in the future when we'll see how we are in the race, how we are doing and how we are progressing with AI in this. So far, looks like an endless race, but maybe we'll get to a certain point in time.
It will be a
Good.
pleasure, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Good luck to Bagel AI. And as you know, I'm very close by, so I'm sure we will continue and have chats either on online or offline.
Perfect. Thank you.
All the best, Ohad.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Take care.